don't look down on anyone. All those very small people on a property that you think you don't have businesses with, those are the ones that will give you everything you need to know about the property. So imagine if you are rude to them and saying, excuse me, please go. As you're just being very professional and not wanting to say hi or anything, you're just going on your own. I pity you because they won't tell you anything. We're talking about roof and we're checking the roof because roof is a very capital intensive repair. So you don't want to take up a $500,000 liability. There's a property, a 400 units. We've actually signed an LOI. And in the process of signing the LOI, we found out that the entire roof was bad. For a 400 units, we're budgeting 1.5 million. Guys, 1.5 million liability. When we found that out, we went back to retrade. Retrade is if I agreed to a particular amount and you say, no, based on this, I've saying I can no longer pay you this amount. This is my fair price. This is the fair price that your property is due to. People do that. So what we normally do on our team is we try to put everything in the front burner and walk away on time. Remember, if we signed a lot of LOI last year before we did Villa Ladera. Guys, a lot of experience is needed for this business. That's why we always encourage you come for this type of meetings because we always like to share our fair share of experience. And besides that, it's important that if you have a team, you should have someone that has multiple experience for good and bad stuff. And you should also have good team members. So one thing we don't jeopardize with is a property management company. But you also need to know the cost of what you're dealing with because there's different roofing materials. You also need to know the cost of exactly what the repair would look like. It's not enough for you to use a drone to just go up. We used a drone for our property in Maverick and that the rain fell and the roof did not dry properly. So it was showing patches. It felt like the roof was bad, but the roof wasn't bad. We got to know that the roof wasn't bad from a second attempt. So, but the drone gave us the picture of what he saw and it was just because rain fell on the roof and gave signs of patches in different places, but nothing was wrong with the roof. To date, we are still enjoying our roof. No problem with our roof. Drone is not enough. You need the roof experts to get up there to see things for themselves. Back to what we're saying. So we typically will always want to have a pre-inspection before we allow our money go hard. And while we are also negotiating our PSA, we also want to look for wiggle rooms to exit because there are some things you will not find out within the first 30 days. Remember, the 30 days is your due diligence period, and that is the period that the money will go hard. For most people, your money goes hard after 30 days. But there are cases whereby some things just crop up. Things that were hidden, there's no way you might have known if it was not disclosed to you. There's no way you'd have known. So what if those things happen and they are severe and they are very, very tangible? Things like lien. Yes, the title company will do some things and all that. So those type of very heavy things like title issues, easements that you are not told of, compliance issues, citation, lien from the federal government, the property does not actually belong to the seller, maybe it belongs to someone else. Those are ground for you to say, bye, I need my complaint money and all that. So there are places in the PSA that says that we ask the seller in quotes if they are aware of anything that will bring about grievance, great liability for the buyer. And most times they will say no. Do you have lien? Do you have this? They'll tell you no. They also ask questions like these financials, to the best of your knowledge, are you sure that they are true? They will say yes, to the best of their knowledge. So they will normally say yes and yes and yes. But there's also a clause that says that if the buyer finds out that those itemized things and you didn't disclose them, you've said yes that they do not exist, and you find out that those things actually do exist and it has been existing while you were under contract at the form of, hey, BB, this thing is up. I want to just inform you guys, but I'm working on it. I'm rectifying it. So we're seeing sellers that want to pad it, cover it up, and not disclose that to you. So we're going to give you a true life story that just happened to us in a deal that just closed. We went to do our normal inspection and the pool wasn't working, but it was not 2:30 and it was winter when we did the inspection. So the excuse was, this is winter, guys. We're swimming in the pool. So that's why we left it this way. That was the initial excuse. So we kept visiting the property and we saw the pool was not on. It was left in a bad condition and we kept asking questions. So we didn't just keep quiet. We didn't just notice that it was not functioning. We kept asking, are you sure there's nothing wrong with your pool? And they kept saying, no, everything is fine. And it was a cover up between them, the property manager, everybody covered up, including the broker. But we ensured that we asked everyone. And for some of you that know me, I do video coverages of the properties I visit, especially the ones that I am currently on. And for once, that video kind of saved us because those response and answers were inside my video. So I had proof. I wasn't just talking. I had proof that we've told you, we've asked these questions and all that. Initially, they denied it. So at closing, we wanted to close, went to do our final walkthrough. We saw that the pool was in the worst situation ever. And this is summer. So what is your excuse? Fortunately for us, it had new team members, new property manager, new maintenance guys that have never been in the loop, that never had an idea of the previous conversation. So, like I always tell people, don't look down on anyone. All those very small people on a property that you think you don't have businesses with, those are the ones that will give you everything you need to know about the property. So imagine if you are rude to them and say, excuse me, please go. As you're just being very professional and not wanting to say hi or anything, you're just going on your own. I pity you because they won't tell you anything. But I go there in a very friendly manner. In short, we're gisting as if we've known each other before. Hey, what's up with you? Where are you from? They will normally want to ask me about my accent. If you have an accent, baby, where are you from? So I use the opportunity, since you want to know where I am from, I will also ask you where you're from. Before you know, we'll have a rapport. We'll start smiling with each other. And I know that, well, good. I get to start asking you those very uncomfortable questions. And because we have a relationship, you start spilling out everything. And that's what happened between me and that maintenance. I said, no, this book is not working. It's not been working for 3 months. I said, oh, really? Tell me something interesting. Are you for real? In short, even went further. He said, let me even tell you for a fact. We had the city come to inspect it and it failed woefully. It did not pass the inspection. It had electrical problem. It had plumbing problem. The pumps were bad. So it's not good. Okay. Since when? He said, I've been here for 3 months and since I came here, the pool has not been working. Oh, okay. So what have they done about it? He said, they've tried to repair it, but they've not been able to get the city to come and do their inspection. I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. May God bless you. He said, oh yeah, thank you. So, but I didn't just want to take his word for it. I went back to the office and I went to double check with the manager that did not know me before. And she said, yes, it's true. Like those things happened. Guess what? That was our wiggle room. At the time that we needed it the most, all our options were off the table. But because we had a wiggle room that if you do not inform us of something like permits, compliance issue, citations, if you don't inform us at the time that you knew about it, and then it's a problem. So that was ground for us to walk away from the deal. And we used it, in short, we used it to the best of our ability because the seller was actually very tough. And truth be told, he pushed us to the corner big time. And typically, it's something we will let go and say, okay, bye, no problem. We'll take care of it when we take over the property, as long as you did not know. But we decided to put that weapon. I'll call it a weapon at that point. We decided to pull that weapon because one, the seller was very mean to us. He said he was giving us till June 30th to close. And if we did not close, he would be collecting $2,000 per day until we were able to. And he meant it. He wasn't going to budge. We begged and begged. I literally asked the lender to beg him. I literally asked the broker to beg him. Anybody that could have access to him, I was talking to, help me beg the seller to please stop. And the seller said, I'm not going to budge. So we said, okay, you're not going to budge. We have a weapon in our PSA that will address this matter for us. And we brought up that, and that was it. And the seller, guess what, paid us. So we paid him $18,000 because we closed in 9 days afterwards, but he paid us $20,000 for the issues we had. So who won? Who lost? He lost because the money collected from us, we didn't just collect it. We collected it and we collected $2,000 extra on top of it. You understand? So your PSA, you don't know how important it is until you have an issue with the seller. Don't assume because the seller is all nice at the beginning, he's going to be that nice to the end. This seller was literally very nice to us at the beginning because I told him I wasn't ready because I was doing my event in February and I said, please give me to the end of the month to catch up. I will sign the LOI, but we will not be able to start anything until the end of February. He said, no problem. Take your time. So it would take someone to be very nice to say, okay, I understand you are busy and when you are ready, let's start up my deal. So it was so nice until our money went hard. The moment our money went hard, it became very mean and our PSA was the one that helped us. So your PSA is very, very important. If not, we'd have lost because our EMD was about 250 something or 70 something thousand. And if we had decided to walk away, we'd have lost that money. And the seller had the right to say, you guys were supposed to close on June 30th. You did not close. So I don't want to extend any longer. I have the right to walk away and go away with your EMD. He had the right to do that. But because our PSA gave us some wiggle rooms that we created ourselves. We also did that. Another thing you need to also put into your PSA is liability. Some things need to survive your closure. So it's possible that you've closed, but you found out that the property has environmental issues when they ran the second report. So for commercial properties, there's something called an environmental report. They want to see if there's any toxic stuff on the property that is going to affect the tenants, the property, the area, and all that. They want to be sure that there's nothing like that on your property. So on commercial properties, they must perform those type of inspections. So sometimes they'll perform one, they call it environmental phase 1, and they might not do phase 2. So it's possible that maybe you conducted phase 2 and you found out that, oh my God, because phase 2 is like an index. They go way and above in the study, and it's possible that they found out that something has happened and you've closed. What would happen? That means you have to take up that liability to clear it up, and it's very expensive to do. You don't want to be caught in that kind of dilemma. So those are type of the things we'll say that it's going to survive closing, especially if this property is close to an industrial area. Because some lenders, let's say a seller bought a property 2 years ago before you bought it from him. Some lenders will accept the environmental report from that seller because the timing is not too far off. Some are willing to accept it. Some will say, no, I need to do a new one. Let's say that lender took up that one and you went ahead to say, okay, I want to still do a second phase, and you found out that that happened, and maybe the report came out after you've closed, or something happened. Maybe an inspector came to your property and they took a soil sample to go test it, and they found out that your property is polluted. I mean, the soil, something is polluted. You are liable. So for our properties, and normally we say those type of things will survive closure. Sometimes I put it for 2 years, sometimes 1 year, sometimes the minimum I've gone is 6 months. That means you're still liable to some things. For the fact that we bought the property from you, you're liable. You pay. If those issues happen, I'm going to call you to come and sort it out. So there are some items that can fall under those categories, and you need to ensure that those things are in your PSA. So PSA is your tool. In wrapping up, we've had very reasonable sellers that have not allowed us use the weapons and the PSA to fight or have an argument with them. We've never had to have that type of thing happen to us. I've closed about 9 deals, multifamily deals, excluding single family. And I can tell you for a fact, this is the only one I got to use that. Imagine that you've been doing this for quite a while, and this is the only time for the first time really use different sections of your PSA to challenge the seller. So in other words, you have to ensure that this deal might be that deal that you encounter such seller. So you have to ensure that you protect yourself, but learn to pick your battles. Pick up the things that are of more priority to you than things that are not. There are some things you can allow to go and just say, okay, I will allow it go because I think I can handle it. But there are some things that if they're not willing to play ball with you on that, take a walk away. That is all I have for today. I wish you could do more, but there's no time. So it's city specific, especially when you have to do with zoning and all that. But these are public records and you can easily call them and ask questions. I've seen they are very open. Once you tell them you're looking for such information, you can do your due diligence yourself and do that. Another person that can help you do that is the title company. They will check for all these things because remember, the lender is the biggest stakeholder on the deal because they give the highest chunk of money. So they also want to protect themselves. So even if you are not doing it, which I would advise that you do, the lender is doing his own. They are investigating, they are talking to the title company, they are pulling out research, UCC survey research. The lender is the one that will conduct the environmental. You'll pay for it. They will ask you to pay. They call it good faith money. Some of the lenders will refund you back the money at closing. Some will not refund you back the money at closing. So it just depends on the lender's term. But our particular lender, I think they refunded us. I'm not too sure, but I think they refunded us back the good faith money. So the good faith money is the money that says, I want to go on with you with this deal. And that money, I'm going to use it to do appraisal report. They're going to do a UCC survey research. The idea is they're going to also inspect the property to see if there are issues with the integrity of the property. They're also going to do environmental. So regardless of the fact that you might not know that you should do it, the lender is going to do them. But it's important that you also know those type of reports that should be done. The lender will definitely do them because they are the major stakeholder. They're giving you sometimes 60 to 80%, even 90% of the funds needed to close. You don't expect them to just say, oh, baby, take the money, I'm going and do the research yourself. Let's give you 10 million. You go do the research. No, they will do it, but you should also think like a detective. What if there's some things that are going to slide under the carpet? So you go and still do your phone call. So like when that thing happened, the permit stuff happened, I had to call the city. I did. I called. I said, I want to find out about a pool inspection, what happened and all that. So you too can also pick up your call. There are some cities that they don't give out informations like that, but you can give them that you're looking at buying it. Just give them something reasonable and they will definitely tell you what to expect. So you can do the legwork. For our properties in Pennsylvania, that one was our legwork. We literally did everything ourselves. We found out things ourselves, and our lawyer was local. So she too also helped us get some information and all that. But the lender would have a major role to play in those type of searches. Zoning, UCC, property, and all that. So for example, the lender, like I said, they're going to do the property inspection and all that. When we did our due diligence, it was winter. There was no flood, there was no water, no rain. So all the soil area was okay. It was compact together. But when the lenders came to do a property inspection, it was a raining period. That's when we're having rain in Dallas. You know that the rain pushed out the sand. Because the property is up and it's slopey, it was pushing out the sand. So those were researches that the lender did. And guess what? It was the lender that informed us about it. We didn't know that happened. Not because would have known, because the period where we went there was no rain to tell us that would have happened. So it took a very severe rain to tell us ahead of time that this issue would be something we should deal with. We need to put in what that will stop it from flowing down and all that. But the lender had to do their own due diligence, and we both rubbed mine. They will ask you what are the problems you are saying. They will ask you what your business plan is. They'll ask you those things, but the lender will also come back and ask you questions like you should know these things. They will say, what is your plan for concessions? Or what is your plan for erosion? What's your budget for that? When they start asking those kind of questions, then you go back to your table and say, is this something that you're saying that I did not see? It has happened to me several times. So that's why the teamwork in multifamily cannot be overemphasized, because you're just one person. You only see what you can see. That's the level at which you will see. But when you surround yourself with experts, your property manager, because those ones will see things you cannot see. They handle properties every day. Do you? You don't. They see issues you will not see. Then lenders have done loans for people 100 times. They will see things you cannot see, and they go at different times and hours and have access to things that you might not even have access to, because a seller can say I don't have it, but a lender, before a seller will tell a lender I don't have it, then they truly do not have it. So it's important you walk around all of them and pay attention to what questions the lenders are asking you. Pay attention to it. Sometimes they're not random. Some people think they are just standard. No, they are not standard. One thing I found out is that the questions the lenders ask, they're not standard. They've done their own research and they're trying to know if you know, because they're going to ask you the question. They want to know your plan if these things happen, because they've seen it happen or they've seen signs of it happening. So once you get those answers and you are not aware of it, go and do your research. It has happened to me over and over again. When I see those things, I go back. We saw this thing. What's going on? I start to ask questions. So that's it.